formation top cut. We're going to have Caleb Patton there on the left playing Lost Zone box. He's going to be up against Lucas Thiele playing that Lugia V-Star.
Yeah, we just saw Lugia V-Star and the showing it had, but this time we're going to be seeing it competing against Lost Box here.
And it's going to be a different version of Lugia V-Star as well. Of course, last round we got to see the single strike version, the tried and true, what we're used to seeing really in this format. But Lucas here is choosing to bring the new hotness. That's colorless Lugia V-Star, really has catapulted in play leading up to this event. And wow, 4 energy cards prize for Lucas. You never love to see that as a Lugia player. And then 2 Colress over on Caleb Patton's end. And a pretty important Pokemon too, that Raikou V.
Yeah, that is rough. Chip, speaking about the new hotness, did you miss something in the list?
Yo, the Ditto being played by Caleb Patton. That's actually pretty spicy, I'm not gonna lie. Can kind of work like a 5th Comfey, potentially. I mean, Comfey is definitely the Pokemon you want to start like every single game, so hey, why not get a 5th one in there later on in the game? If you don't find it turn 1, you get to just Lost Zone it. Doesn't seem too bad to me.
Yep, brand new card from 151 in that Ditto being played by Caleb Patton. But our players have started this game now, Swiss round 15, the winning in here. Caleb Patton, Lucas Thiele starting us off. That Drapion V being the active Pokemon here and capturing Aroma. It was a heads roll for Lucas.
A pretty bad starter in this Drapion V. Not very good attacker in this matchup. If you did ever attack with it, it would heavily damage something on your bench. You have to deal 60 damage to something. I guess it could also heavily damage itself, which is never great either. And it's also got 2 retreats, so a little annoying to try to move. Of course, Lucas is playing a full suite of 4 Jet energy, so has a pretty decent chance to get that up into the active spot. The big attackers here in this matchup for Lucas are definitely going to be that Snorlax. Its unfazed fat ability means it cannot be damaged by a Pokemon like Sableye. It can't have damage counters placed on it. And it is also, of course, an excellent attacker with Thumping Snore. And you can combo it with Therapeutic Energy. And look at this. Boo, what a turn 1 start from Lucas.
Yup, something that was a lot clunkier from what we saw from Lugia V-Star, but not this time around. Lucas Thiele getting the Ultra Ball, both Archeops going down right away. This is the first turn here for Lucas, so definitely what you want to see, even though starting that Drapion V, definitely awkward here, but everything else sort of falling into place on this turn. Having to discard that Luxray as well as the Therapeutic Energy, and remember, there's a ton of energy as well in the prize cards here for Lucas, so definitely going to have to keep track of all these resources here. And going for that Lumineon V.
Yeah, you might be puzzled to see Lumineon V being played right now, as you cannot play a supporter card on the first turn, but this is Lucas respecting what Caleb's deck can do. It is entirely possible that Caleb could find Escape Rope, 7 cards in the Lost Zone, Mirage Gate, boom, take a 1-hit KO on this Lugia V. And if that happened, the game's basically over. Lucas would literally pretty much just lose. You're a whole turn behind of getting into the Summoning Star. It's just too far behind against the Turbo Lost Box deck. So Lucas is respecting the potential of that happening, chooses to bench the Lumineon V. So if Escape Rope is played, that is what he would have to choose to send up. And it is now a pass over to Caleb Patton's end.
Yep, Caleb Patton starting us off with a flower selecting right away. Let's take a look at the hand here for Caleb as well, Chip.
Yeah, I see a Nest Ball in there. It looks like this first flower selecting is going to ditch a Lost Vacuum. Normally a pretty nice card to keep around, but choosing to keep the Comfey instead. I think with the Nest Ball, maybe going for a Greninja could be strong. Let's see what happens here off this flower selecting. Another Lost Vacuum into an Escape Rope. Choosing to ditch the other Lost Vacuum, so I think Caleb recognizing, hey, we're not going for a turn 1 play.
I was about to say, that kind of showcases the strategy here. 2 Lost Vacuums to the Lost Zone means we're not going to see a ton more cards going into Lost Zone, at least from the Lost Vacuums. But Caleb is going to get some more cards in here with all of these flowers selecting. Oh no, the Ditto!
Goodbye, Ditto.
See ya. That Ditto is now in the Lost Zone, never to be retrieved again. But Caleb Patton going back into the deck here off this Nest Ball. So we've talked a little bit about Lucas playing the colorless version of Lugia V-Star versus the single strike version. Caleb Patton and this deck, what sort of is the strategy he's going to be going for against Lugia V-Star?
Yeah, this looks like just good old classic Lost Box. There's kind of just the normal stuff we're used to seeing in here. Nothing too crazy. I mean, the Ditto is a little spicy, right? But we're not seeing like a Kyogre build here. But other than that, it's just like the Pokemon we're really used to. The Dragonite V, the Raikou V did choose to play the Drapion V in this list as well. Not going to be good in this matchup, but probably a decent call for the meta. Mew is pretty solid here in day 2 of the tournament. It's not a massive percentage-wise, but there are players playing it and doing pretty decently. So here for Caleb, I think you just really want to get damage in play. Even if you're just using Cramorant to deal 110 to this Lumineon, sure, there's a chance Lucas could maybe collapse Stadium, get rid of it, but you're putting that pressure on and you're setting yourself up to be able to potentially clean that up with a Sableye on the next turn.
Yeah, I think we're really going to look for that. Just consistent damage onto the board here for Caleb Patton to be able to bring things back home. But I mean, Lucas, having, like you said, you brought up that super important Snorlax, you know, it works so well against Lost Box. Yeah. So I'm really interested to see this variation of Lugia. I mean, we've only gotten, this is the second one we've seen, and it's a different variant, which is awesome. And we're going to see how well it works in this matchup against Lost Box. We're seeing the concealed cards here from Radiant Greninja, drawing into 2 additional cards in the hand.
Still no Culver's Experiments. 2 in the prize cards means it's pretty tough to get that extra cards in the Lost Zone right away, and so Caleb just has to pass. And Lucas, on the other hand, top decks the Snorlax, plays Research right away, draws a fresh hand of 7 cards.
Yup, that is awesome for Lucas, Thiele, and Caleb. Yeah, just stuck with 3 cards only in the Lost Zone so far. So Lucas going to continue to advance the board state here with that Lugia V-Star and go straight into that Summoning Star. Get those Archeops that were discarded to the Ultra Ball, turn 1 right back out here, and we're going to be off to the races for Lucas, accelerating some energy here and getting first to the damage.
Yeah, and probably will be attacking with the Snorlax. Most likely you can put a double turbo energy on it, plus 1 more energy. Something that is pretty annoying here for Lucas, though, is that he only plays 2 therapeutic energy. And therapeutic energy is a massive card for the Snorlax because it means the Pokemon that it's attached to cannot be affected by special conditions. So Snorlax does not put itself to sleep like the normal effect of Thumping Snore would do.
Yeah.
Lucas discarded the therapeutic energy turn 1. And boo, the other one is in the prize cards.
That is unfortunate here. I wonder if that was like the only discard option there for Lucas, or
it was, yeah.
Yeah,
the other card he kept was the Research.
Oh, yeah, you're
or
so right.
The pieces to go get the Lumineon, I guess, right?
To get into that. Yeah, that is tough to see. I mean, I guess this is going to be a sleepy Snorlax here that we're going to be seeing coming up with that thumping snore, but
now,
that's just how things happen.
You can still kind of get out of it, right? There's 4 jet energy in the list. Well, that's an option too, yes, technically. You could just flip double heads, but I'm being realistic here. Using jet energy to send up even just an Archeops or Lumineon V to the active spot. They all have 1 retreat. You reset that special condition and move back to the bench, send Snorlax back up, and keep your chain of attacks going. But you know what? I'm sure Lucas would probably prefer to go Boo's route of just, you know, flip heads.
Flip some heads, you know? Just get good at Pokemon and you're good to go. But here we go, Snorlax with that thumping snore. Wow.
What was that?
Whoa. Thumping snore that we talked about. Thanks to that double turbo energy, allowing for all the energy there. Oh, so close. 1 heads, but a tails on the other end. Still, Lucas gonna take the knockout here. First to the prize cards in this race, and now it's up to Caleb Patton to match this pace, match this energy from Lucas, and hope we can get into some cards.
Does find the Hisuian Heavy Ball. That could get the Raikou V. Pretty decent attacker in this matchup. Not in this spot necessarily. And this is where things can get a little awkward because the Snorlax is just so hard and annoying to deal with. You pretty much have to attack with a 2 prize Pokemon in order to deal with it, either your Raikou or your Dragonite. I guess Drapion in this instance works as well, but you know, all of the 1 prize Pokemon in Caleb's end really just don't do much. Sableye obviously can't touch it at all thanks to Unfazed Fat. Cramorant only deals 110. Radiant Greninja can do some damage. Now there is another potential play, as we do see with the rearrangement of the prizes, those Colress moving even farther up.
Yeah, that is not good.
There is one potential play that we should definitely point out that Caleb can go for, and that would be, I'm just double checking Lucas's list. Yeah, there is no Radiant Serena. So what you can do as the Lost Box player is you can target down both the Archeops with your Radiant Greninja. Moonlight Shuriken, deal that damage, 90-90. And then on the next turn, Sableye, Lost Mine, 60-60, adds up to 2 Archeops being KO'd.
Yeah, so there's some ways around it here thanks to that Radiant Greninja being able to attack here. Multiple Pokemon, hopefully take multiple knockouts as well, but Caleb Patton finally getting to 4 and 5 cards in the Lost Zone now. Gonna turn that Cramorant online with that Lost Provisions ability, which allows it to spit innocently. Was it 2 heads?
Double heads.
Let's go, Lucas Thiele
Yep.
with the double heads. Amazing to see. See, Chip, it's working out. It's working out.
Sure. For Caleb Patton, I mean, the main story here is just not being able to find Chorus. And if you can't find Chorus in the first couple of turns, the Lost Box deck is just really weak. I mean, no supporter cards played, a couple cards in the Lost Zone, but you're not unlocking your extra powerful cards, the things like the Mirage Gate and your Sableye.
Absolutely. Chorus is so important to any Lost Box deck, and it's just unfortunate 2 are in the prize cards. Lucas going to continue on here. Now that Snorlax has risen from its sleep. Remember I used to call it the plank of wood, Chip? That
the
Snorlax
bridge
is
that it's on?
Snorlax
Play
sleeping.
a video game, boo.
Sleeping on the bridge here, but now it's awake and it's ready to attack once again into this Cramorant from Lucas. But first, we're going to see these Primal Turbo accelerate some energy onto this Lugia V-Star.
You just get some energy in play. This can lead to your Weirdeer potentially later on coming in and taking a knockout on one of Caleb's 2 prize Pokemon. Caleb is likely going to have to put down a Raikou or a Dragonite at some point. And even if Caleb doesn't attack with it, you know, you still want to use that Forest Seal Stone to get something out of the deck. So having an option to Weirdeer go after one of those Pokemon is usually pretty strong. I wouldn't expect Lucas to ever like attack with the Lugia V-Star this turn because Caleb literally just put the Raikou into hand.
True.
So that would be a little risky if you ask me. And I think you got to just take advantage of the fact that, hey, Snorlax woke up. We flipped the double heads. That's
nice.
Just get in there and take this other attack.
Yep, that Primal Turbo, that second Primal Turbo being used to put a Jet Energy onto that Archeops. Of course, not played from hand, so no effect, extra effect there, but that Snorlax going back to sleep here.
No way.
Is that 2 heads?
Another double heads.
Not for long. Snorlax waking up once again after taking another prize card here for Lucas Thiele. We're over onto Caleb's side, stacking more cards into the Lost Zone here thanks to those flower selectings. We are up to 6 cards now, and we see that manual retreat off of that Comfey into another one. Going to be an easy choice here with that Battle VIP Pass. Now we're at that special 7 here, which is going to unlock Mirage Gate potentially to get these energy out and power up some attackers for Caleb.
Yep, I see the Mirage Gate already in hand. I see Boss's orders with Raikou coming down with the Forest Sealstone, the flip of that marker, Star Alchemy now adding any single cards in the hand. A switch card will do, and I think we're going to see Caleb Patton targeting down the Lightning Weak Lugia V-Star, try to take 2 prizes to tie this game up and get back into this match.
Yep, I believe, Chip, that Caleb can do it here. That Raikou, so much utility in this matchup for sure. We're going to see the escape rope here from Caleb. Of course, Lucas has to choose first what is advanced into the active position. It's going to be that Drapion V.
Yeah, interesting. Go after the Drapion here. The Lugia probably sticks around for a little bit longer, so you assume it'll be a little bit easier of a prize to take later on. But the Drapion is also pretty reasonable to take out later on because Dragonite can take it out. Dragonite, of course, not able to knock out something like the Lugia V-Star.
Yeah. All right, well, we see that Mirage Gate used to power up that Raikou V and the Fleet-Footed, of course, as well.
Yeah.
Wait, was that?
Oh, sorry. So Caleb played the escape rope, and Lucas pushed the Drapion. Now Boss's orders brings
now
up the
it's
Lugia
Boss
V-Star.
for the Lugia
Makes a lot more
here.
sense. I was actually just in the process of doing the math as well. Caleb
You got
actually,
a lot on your plate, Chip.
Raikou would not have been able to knock out the Drapion. So yes, we are going to take out the Lugia V-Star. This is the good play. And Caleb actually even also has Colress in hand finally.
Oh, nice.
Benching the Sableye to play around the potential incoming Iono that Lucas could go for this turn, and even Super Odd to put some energy cards back. Also playing around Iono. Really nice in a spot like this because if you get Iono'd, Radiant Greninja is a much better card for you to utilize on your next turn because you have more energy cards in the deck.
All right, well, here we go. It's going to be this knockout on that Lugia V-Star thanks to it being weak here to that Raikou V. And Lucas going to promote an Archeops into the active position and then draw for turn here as well.
You have the draw for turn, lots of cards to work with. Without Lugia V-Star in play, there's no great immediate response to this Raikou. You have to kind of piece something else together, likely that Weird Ear V, which Lucas is already debating putting onto the bench. Looks like that will come into play. It's got that excellent Frontier Road ability. Whenever it moves from the bench to the active spot, you get to choose as many energy cards attached to your Pokemon as you like and move them to the active. So we got, you know, double turbo gift. We've got a jet. So many energies to choose from.
All the energies here.
And even more now coming out of the deck.
Yeah, it's an incredible inclusion. We've seen our players talk about Weird Ear V so often that it just can swing for as much damage as you want, essentially as much damage as you can accelerate those energy. And I would say one of the best decks for accelerating energy is definitely Lugia V-Star, that's for sure.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's really what's dominated the format right now. Lugia V-Star, accelerating energy, and then also Charizard, accelerating energy, right? Just pulling all those energy cards out of your deck.
As well.
You know what? Turns out one of the rules of the game is you can only attach one energy per turn.
Yep.
If you can play a card like the ones we mentioned, or even Mirage Gate that gets you extra energy into play, they turn out to be pretty good.
Yeah, I guess to attack, you need your Pokemon to have energy to power up those moves, and that's definitely what we have here as we see that Weird Ear V move into the active position.
Exactly enough
Lucas.
energy in play as well here to get the knockout. 200 damage being dealt exactly. Gets a little funky with the math because the double turbo energies are 2 energy cards, so that's, you know, plus 80, but then they also reduce by 20, so it's minus 20. So each double turbo energy is effectively 60 damage being added. The other ones, of course, 40 apiece. That adds up to 200. That's a KO here on Raikou V.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Chip. The quick maths there for sure. That's what we got you here for, because I'm terrible at math. But yeah, Lucas
the key is just for me to do the math while you're talking.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for, right, Chip? Yeah, Lucas, Thiele putting everything together here. I am definitely partial to the Weird Ear V being in this deck. I like any sort of like deer type Pokemon is my vibe, so I'm a fan of the colorless type Lugia variant for sure.
I wonder why that could be. A Weird Ear here
Looks
will be
kind of
able
like a caribou, huh?
you could say that. You could say that. As Weird Ear with the Psy Shield Dash does take the knockout, putting Lucas down to just 2 prize cards remaining. And the thing about this spot is that Caleb's best way to respond to this attack is a 2-prize attacker, Dragonite or getting back the Raikou somehow. Heavy Ball being played once again was drawn off the prizes. Just thinning it out of the deck. You don't want to draw it anymore.
Hey, but maybe we can get a reshuffle of these Colossus Experiment. Put them on the bottom. We'll see what happens here. Lucas going to even take a shuffle after that Hisuian Heavy Ball as well. We're going to reset those prize cards. No Pokemon, but we're going to reset those Colossus Experiment. One on the bottom, just switch sides there into a Nest Ball here from Caleb as well. So, Dragonite V.
Yeah, so Lucas is not playing the Radiant Charizard that we've seen in these colorless Lugias from time to time. A lot of people will play that and then put 1 Luminous Energy or 2 Luminous Energy in the deck, just so at the end of the game you can come in and take a one-hit knockout on something like, in this instance, a Dragonite V that's about to attack. Yeah. Because Lucas is not playing that, after Caleb brings up this Pokemon and attacks into the Weird Ear this turn, there's really not a clear-cut and great response for Lucas. Does have the Mew EX. I guess that would be kind of your one chance. It does require a bit more energy. It can copy the Dragon Gale to just clean up the KO. So Lucas is going to have to hope that he can find that piece and a way to get it into the active. One of those jet energies would be pretty nice.
Yeah, that would be extremely nice indeed. We'll have to see how it plays out for Lucas here, but everything going well for Caleb to get that response attack here. Lost Zone is up to 9 cards now. We've already used the concealed cards here off that Radiant Greninja, and we're going to roll the Pokestop.
Here we go. A couple energy cards going down. I do think there is a Super Rod in the hand, which is not too bad. You can get around that play. We do see the Comfey now finding a switching card and losing a Super Rod, definitely signifying that there is a Rod in hand.
Yep. And we're going to see this switch cart as well. Caleb debating using it now, taking a quick look through everything in the hand so far, though.
I think the one thing missing is Mirage Gate. Is the one thing Caleb kind of still needs. And I think the way to get it is to use Lost Vacuum to get rid of this Pokestop that you just utilized and then play your other Pokestop, because this one has been in play for a little while. But Caleb Doesn't feel like he can get there.
Wow, just going to scoop it up here.
Yeah.
So Lucas going to go up 1 in this match between these players with Lugia V-Star.
And I think that's kind of what you would expect. I do feel like this matchup is slightly favored for the Lugia player, probably like 60-40, maybe 55-45. Lost Box, of course, has so many options and can be so explosive with a potential turn 1 attack. But really, Lugia, especially this version with the Snorlax, it's just kind of tough to deal with as a Lost Box player.
Look at that. Lucas Thiele, favorite Pokemon is Ice-Cube, the frozen penguin. Love to see it.
No Ice-Cube in the list, though.
Yeah, no Ice-Cube representing this list, but still a cute Pokemon indeed. But yeah, I mean, Caleb Patton really needs to keep up the pace here. Started playing in 2016 with his siblings. That is cool to see. So kind of a long time player here, several years in the game. And it definitely shows with the deck choice here from Caleb Patton. But yeah, I mean, Lugia is just such a fast-paced deck, and then with the inclusion of the MVP of the Snorlax, having a better response to the Lost Box matchup is even better. So Caleb really needs to take as much edge as possible. And if you remember, Chip, we only had 3 cards in the Lost Zone on that turn 1 for Caleb. So just didn't have the momentum from the start. Hopefully for Caleb Patton, things can turn around here in this game 2 between these players.
Yeah, I'd definitely say Caleb's main strategy in this game compared to game 1 should be to find Colress's experiment. That
I know, that was
would
rough.
be a great start here, as we do see the prize cards going out. Nothing too bad. That Radiant Greninja being in the prizes is a little annoying.
With the History and Heavy Ball?
Yeah, so it is down at the bottom, so you're likely to take them pretty early on. A pair of stadiums in the prizes for Lucas Thiele, but really nothing too bad at all, really, for either of these players.
Well, we're kicking off our game 2 between Lucas Thiele and Caleb Patton here, starting over on Caleb's side. Didn't take the win in that last game, so opting to go first now in this next game. Nest Ball going to start us off. And Caleb Patton, as you see, counting out these energy, so essential to this deck, and making sure to keep track of everything in the prize cards, both Pokemon and energy. Gonna see right away, Radiant Greninja is not an option, and Hisuian Heavy Ball is not an option either.
Yeah, definitely doing a good job here of checking the most important pieces, the Pokemon and the energy cards, especially those energy cards. We've stressed it time and time again for the past year, as long as Lost Box has been out, how important it is to know which energy cards are in your prizes so you can make the correct decisions when it comes to using flower selecting later on in the game.
Yep, there's nothing worse than going for a strategy. You get into your deck when you're searching something out and you realize it's not there.
Yep.
That is an awful feeling.
It's a pretty tough one, yeah.
Something you want to avoid as much as possible, and Caleb definitely knows that is what he's avoiding here. You have to map out your strategy so heavily with Lost Box at the initial turns of the game. And then what's tough about that too is there's so much late game stuff that happens that decisions you're making in the beginning of the turns or the first couple of turns affect your late game as well. So it's just a constant process of formulating your strategy and adapting that strategy to the cards you draw, flower selecting, and Colress, and what your opponent is doing as well. So Caleb Patton going to take all of that into account here, getting a Comfey onto the field, and look at that, jotting down all of those notes as well.
Pretty important, I think, to take notes actually as a Lost Box player. Whenever I've played Lost Box in tournaments, I typically try to take some notes because so much is going on in your turn. It's easy to forget what your prize cards were whenever you were checking them on that first search. Does find a Colress's Experiment, which will be great for the next turn. Also, while we're waiting here as Lucas is beginning his first turn, want to give a couple updates of things that have happened out in games in the field. It looks like Raymond Long and Grant Shin actually did choose to ID. So Grant feeling like his resistance is good enough, moving to 35 match points, that he has a decent shot at still making it into top 8 that way. And Jesse Parker was able to take down Charlie Kerr. Miraidon, of course, versus the Lugia V-Star of Charlie's End. So
nice matchup there.
Jesse was definitely probably feeling pretty good to have hit the Lugia, and now he moves to 36 match points, locking up a berth to top 8 alongside fellow Miraidon player J.W. Krewall.
2 Miraidon advancing into top cut. That is awesome to see. Something that if Lucas gets into top cut, he does not want to see, being a Lugia V player. But here we go. Lugia V is going to be searched out. It's the Capturing Aroma that actually got that Lugia V out, so it must have been a roll for, oh wow, we see another Capturing Aroma. Let's see what this one is.
This one's going to be a heads.
Nice.
Able to find out any evolution Pokemon. We'll see if Lucas has a way maybe to get an Archeops in the discard pile here right away. It's actually going to be Lugia V-Star added to the hand.
So
usually pretty fine to do against Lost Box. You know your hand's not going to get disrupted, and it makes total sense,
when
you've got that one of Professor Burnett in your opening hand. Super, super strong.
Yup, even better here. That Professor Burnett allowing you to search out those 2 Archeops and just discard them immediately here for Lucas Thiele. So now we have that Lugia V here. We had the second Lugia V that Lucas had off of that first capturing Aroma. And then we even have a V-Star for preparation for the next upcoming couple of turns for Lucas. So just really establishing the hand here, getting everything set up.
We're going to see another Lugia V coming into play as well, attached for the double turbo energy. And it is just a read the wind, drawing a few cards. Normally as Lost Box, you feel pretty good about spots like this, but Caleb is going to need to do a lot of work if he wants to get to 7 in the Lost Zone and try to take a knockout on Lugia right now.
Colress's Experiment, a way to start off these cards stacking into Lost Zone. Looks like a difficult decision, though, for Caleb.
Yeah, a couple Energy and a couple Comfey is pretty annoying to see right now. You didn't get to play Battle VIP Pass on turn 1, so you kind of need the Comfeys. You definitely need the energy cards.
Yeah, that is a tough Colress's Experiment indeed. But in the end, Comfey and a Water Energy going to go into the Lost Zone here, bringing us up to 3. Going to be 4 after this Flower selecting between another Energy, going to be the Psychic this time, and that Escape Rope.
So only 7 energy remaining, hanging around between the deck, the field, the prizes, and the hand for Caleb Patton. We see Flower selecting once again. This is going up to 5 cards, which means just a Lost Vacuum away from pulling off a Mirage Gate play of some sort. And it looks like Forest Sealstone is kept here.
Yep, over the Super Rod going into the Lost Zone, bringing us up to 5. Ooh,
This is going to be a pretty big Pokestop here, I think. I think he needs to hit a Nest Ball. Mirage Gate is pretty good, but no Nest Ball.
And of course, his Experiment going into the discard as well. Counting up the energy that are in the discard pile here for Caleb. Also keeping track of the ones in the prize cards as well.
And just a pass. That was a pretty decent opening there for Caleb. If he had found a Nest Ball, I think he would have been able to pull off the attack. He was definitely pretty close. Thanks to Forest Sealstone, would have been able to search any one piece of the combo out that he may have needed. And Lucas immediately slams Lugia V-Star, slams the pair of Archeops. It's time to get some energy cards in play.
Yup, we have summoned those little birds down onto the field here. And Archeops gonna start us off with some Primal Turbo, but not before this Ultra Ball. Discarding 2 cards, the Archeops that can never really be put into play here, easy choice, but the Collapsed Stadium as well going into the discard off of this Ultra Ball.
And it looks like Snorlax will be the grab. The question is, do you attack with the Lugia V-Star right now, or are you okay expending the energy to retreat into the Snorlax? And I feel like Snorlax is pretty decent. Usually as Lugia, the earlier you attack with your Lugia V-Star, the better, because it's less likely your opponent's going to be able to respond.
Yeah.
But of course, Caleb already with 5 cards in the Lost Zone. You got to feel like that Lugia V-Star would be in danger.
Yep.
So let's get it out of here. Probably going to attack with Snorlax, and looks like Therapeutic Energy is going to be able to make an appearance this game.
Yay! Definitely great to see here. Yeah, that Snorlax is just MVP in this deck here for Lucas, especially paired this time around with that Therapeutic Energy. Although I will say, Lucas Thiele, pretty good at rolling double heads, but this time doesn't even have to worry about that. Clears that Snorlax of the special conditions. No sleep. That Snorlax is going to go to work here on this Lost Box deck, and this is the strategy that Lucas has mapped out for this matchup. All right, we see that second Primal Turbo here, getting these energy out of the deck and accelerating them onto that Lugia V-Star to be able to get out of there.
Yeah, potentially for attacking, potentially just an extra energy to retreat, and then you keep an extra couple energy hanging around just in case. I also see Lucas has in hand the brand new, ever powerful Mew EX. And Boo, I gotta ask, have we seen a Mew EX hit the field at all this weekend?
I don't think we have.
Which is pretty crazy to say. It's definitely the most talked about card. Did Jesse put it in play? I think he plays it in his Miraidon deck. Did he put it in play? Yeah.
No, we didn't see it.
So Mew EX going to come into play, restart, going to be able to draw a couple extra cards most likely. Or is Lucas debating just discarding it to the research? And I think that's actually going to happen. Mew is pretty strong in this matchup to be able to respond to a Dragonite.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting to see here from Lucas, but we did see that double turbo energy go down onto the Snorlax to fully power it up here now on the bench. Of course, that other double turbo was powered with the primal turbo onto that Lugia V-Star. Lots of turbos in this deck. It's kind of a turbo deck, if you ask me. Mesa Goza going to be put into play. Ooh, going to be a tails that time, so avoiding the heads there. But now Lucas is able to advance this Snorlax into the active position, and we're going to see a knockout here.
Yep, going to be able to deal with this Comfey, and this is kind of a similar situation to what we saw in game number 1.
Yep.
Caleb does not have a great clear-cut response to this Pokemon. It's pretty much got to be a Dragonite or a Raikou. There's really the only options.
Yep, it's not sleeping. Caleb just making sure that's what's happening here. It's not asleep. It is a huge threat here on Lucas's board for Caleb Patton, and the timer has sort of turned. I mean, you're already kind of under the pressure.
Could be a big flip here.
Oh, and of course we don't see it. Oh, I think it's a reroll.
It is a tails. That would have been really nice if Caleb had hit heads there. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off
no,
by
you're
any
good,
means.
Chip.
But if Caleb had hit heads and been able to get out a Pokemon, we know that there's that Forest Seal Stone in play. So could have grabbed maybe that Raikou. Could have maybe grabbed that Dragonite. Something like that. Probably the Raikou, though, in a spot and target down one of these 2 Lugia V-Star on the bench. Because Boss's orders was already in the hand. Now Caleb having committed to that Colress's Experiment.
Colress's Experiment going to add 2 more cards into the Lost Zone here, bringing us up to 8 now. 3 cards going into the hand as well, stacking up the cards here to be able to use throughout this turn.
I got to say, too, this is probably a position where if you could get to 10 in the Lost Zone this turn, using Sableye to target down 2 Archeops 60-60 apiece would be pretty nice, because then you can set up for the Greninja play. But in this instance, it's just not going to work. Greninja's in the prizes and that Hisuian Heavy Ball, so not only has Caleb whiffed the second turn attack, but he has now found himself in a position where it's just not lining up really for what he wants to try to accomplish.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about. You just have to continuously adapt your strategy. And unfortunately for Caleb, that Radiant Greninja and the Hisuian Heavy Ball are in the prize card. So having to work around that, going to at least be able to play this Nest Ball for the Dragonite V to be brought out onto the field here. We are at Lost Zone, or 8 in the Lost Zone here now, which of course brings the Mirage Gate online here for Caleb to be able to bring out some energy as well.
And this is what I'm saying, Boo, where keeping that Mew EX around would have probably been pretty nice. That is just your really only way in this deck to super efficiently respond to the Dragonite. Wyrdeer can get in there, but requires quite a bit of energy, a pretty big commitment, and then you drain your deck of resources for later on. Yeah,
maybe it's sort of a riskier choice there, relying on the Wyrdeer as the way to take out the Dragonite V, but hopefully it plays out here for Lucas potentially. But Caleb lining up that Dragonite V with a water energy and a lightning energy here, and then going to be able to super rod some more energy back into the deck as well.
Yeah, doing basically everything he can to try to make something happen at this point. It feels really bad to have to swing for 250 into a Snorlax with only 150 HP.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage onto that Snorlax. Of course, will take the knockout, but it's just going to be a single prize card, and that's why that Snorlax is so efficient in this deck.
Pretty smart play from Caleb to use the switch card here, even though the energy was available to potentially retreat this Comfey. Keep the energy hanging around so that on the next turn, if your opponent plays an Iono, you've got that pivot already set up.
Yeah, you're making sure to future-proof your upcoming turns. Do as much as you can to prepare yourself for anything from your opponent. And that's something you always have to be thinking about. What is what I want to avoid from my opponent, and then I can hopefully prepare myself to be able to do that. And that's exactly what Caleb Patton is doing.
I think Caleb is debating using Forest Sealstone now. Going to choose to hold off. Wait to see what he draws into, and it is going to be just one prize card drawn. A pretty decent one, though. Radiant Greninja will add a little bit more card draw at least.
Yep, Snorlax going to sleep off that feint, going into the discard pile here. A prize card for Caleb Patton. And now Lucas promoting that Lugia V-Star and starting off this next turn.
Has a Capturing Aroma in hand, choosing to go for the Mesa Goza first. Maybe wants to save that Capturing Aroma potentially for later on. We'll still go for it. I think the thing you're kind of looking for here is that Wyrdeer Let's see if the Aroma can find it. No, it is a heads,
Yeah.
which means you have to get an evolution Pokemon.
Yeah, that's where capturing Aroma can get awkward sometimes. You're looking for a certain role, and it always seems to be the opposite for me, at least. Every time I'm looking for that. But evolution Pokemon here, Lucas eyeing up. What are the options for that? Going to be that Lugia V-Star in the deck coming out.
Also has that Luxray hanging around, a pretty cool card that these Lugia V-Star players are playing for the most part. It's got an ability that says if you are behind on prize cards, or if you have more prize cards than your opponent, I should say, with its Swelling Flash, you can put it directly into play. And then it has a really solid attack, Wild Charge, 180 damage for a Lightning and 2 colorless. Being a Lightning-type Pokemon, you can one-hit KO really popular Pokemon like opposing Lugia V-Stars and also Pidgeot EX. It's really not something that's going to come up in this matchup, but just overall a strong card in the deck for this weekend.
And it's a single prize card as well, which, gives it even further utility as a slot in this Lugia V-Star build of this deck. Lucas Thiele using these Primal Turbos to accelerate these energies. It's going to be a V-Guard and a Gift Energy going down onto this active Lugia V-Star.
And I think here, Lucas is just going to have to hit 200 damage. Not enough for a KO onto the Dragonite V. More than likely what we're going to be seeing happen, unless there's a Weird Deer and a Jet Energy in the hand, but I don't think there was.
Not that I saw, Chip. From Lucas, looks like just kind of tidying up the board here. Oh, well, there is actually a Weird Deer, but
no Jet Energy.
No Jet Energy, yeah.
Has the other Therapeutic, a double Turbo Energy as well. I don't think that's going to be enough energy. You're going to just see some energies being spread out now, and it will be the attack into the active Dragonite here. 200 damage with Tempest Dive and choosing to discard the Messagoza.
Yeah, of course, that double turbo nerfing the damage output just a little bit on that Lugia V-Star. So that Dragonite V is going to stay here in the active position for Caleb Patton, and Colress's Experiment is going to start off this next turn.
Yeah, we'll see which cards are chosen to keep. 5 cards seen, 2 to the Lost Zone, one of them easy, that Battle VIP pass, and I think Escape Rope was the other choice. Looks like a Raikou V was drawn. Are we going to see the pieces available for Caleb to try to take a knockout here this turn? Or could we be setting up a Radiant Greninja play? It looks like he's thinking of attaching to it. Yeah,
that Radiant Greninja, the amazing draw off of the prize cards there for Caleb, has only taken 1, and it was that card there. So Radiant Greninja coming into play here now for Caleb. And we're going to see that energy.
Yeah, so with this attachment, I think we're going to be going for that play of that Greninja, trying to target down these 2 Archeops most likely. Actually, for now, doesn't look like that's going to be the case. It's just a swing into the active, maybe threatening the Greninja to clean up this Lugia on the next turn, and then it can also target down this Lugia to set yourself up to try to take those 4 prizes that way. Of course, Caleb's still on 5 prizes.
Would need one more.
Is going to naturally need a 1-prize KO at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this maps out here for Caleb down the line. Of course, dealing the damage as well to the benched Pokemon from that Dragonite V. Lucas going to roll a heads here off of that Messagoza, which is going to allow for a Pokemon to come out. That Lumineon V being benched right away for Luminous Sign to bring out Iono, the Disruption card here.
Yeah, so Caleb still has 5 prize cards, so it's not going to be as disruptive as it maybe possibly could be, but the fact that there's it looks like 1 million cards in Caleb's hand right now.
So many.
It's probably worth it.
Yeah, Lucas taking a quick look at the hands here, but just going to go straight in for that Iono. Both of our players shuffling up the hands. All of those cards that were in Caleb Patton's hand going to go to the bottom here, and we're going to see the prize cards dictating how many cards these players draw. Both of them sitting tied right now at 5 prize cards each.
Lucas here with the new hands. Let's see what he's able to make happen with it. Looks like a Nest Ball and a Jet Energy. Could open up some plays with something like a Snorlax or a Weird Deer later on. For now, though, Tempest Dive will clean up this knockout, sending Lucas down to just 3 prize cards remaining. Still absolutely ahead in this game. We'll see what Caleb Patton has to respond.
Yep, we will see 2 prize cards down over to Caleb's side now. Comfey with that energy already attached to give it that pivot option being promoted here into the active. And we're going to see this first flower selecting between a Super Rod And was that the Drapion?
Yeah.
All right, Drapion.
Pretty easy choice.
Easy going into the last zone here. So that Super Rod is going to be added to the hand. Fantastic there. We're debating the escape rope here now, just double checking all the cards in the hand, but it's going to be that escape rope from Caleb Patton. Lucas having to choose what to promote here into the active position now.
It might just be going with the Greninja here. There is Mirage Gate in the hand, so that could work as a way to start to target some things down.
Lucas promoting this Archeops very slowly.
Very
but
cautiously.
Yeah, very cautiously, but it's going to be the Archeops going into the active here. And, of course, that Radiant Greninja that Caleb has been eyeing up here to make some plays in this game. Super Rod is going to be used as well.
Going back in. It's a little awkward, honestly, to super out a bunch of energy back in the exact turn that you're planning to attack with your Radiant Greninja.
True.
Obviously, in this spot, Caleb needed it in order to be able to pull off an attack. There's too many water energies down in the discard pile, but the water energies being back in the deck are really strong for you to Radiant Greninja away later on in the game.
Yeah.
Only one Mirage Gate still remaining, so with this Greninja, most likely you're expecting it to go down. It doesn't feel as strong to have to fill the deck with cards that effectively aren't going to do too much for you.
Absolutely, Chip. Unfortunate turn of events, but got to do what you got to do, especially with one of the Super Rod already being in the lost zone as well for Caleb. So let's just down another resource. But we are going to see that Radiant Greninja here, and those energy go into the discard. So.
And now Lucas able to draw for turn. Like we mentioned, has the Nest Ball. Looks like Lugia V was found. A few Jet Energy, so definitely a Snorlax play could be in line.
Nest Ball coming out here for Lucas. Going to search a basic Pokemon out of the deck. And look at that, Chip. You're a psychic. Bringing out that Snorlax here onto the bench for Lucas.
And then probably wants to put at least a Therapeutic Energy on there. That one seems obvious. Gift Energy really probably isn't that good. It's fine. You know, I guess if you don't put it on there, Caleb feels really okay just trying to knock it out with something like a Raikou or a Dragonite. But if you do leave it on there, Caleb has options to try to get around it with Escape Rope or Sableye.
Yep, we're going to see the Capturing Aroma here from Lucas.
It is going to be the Heads Flip. That gets an Evolution Pokemon out. Probably just an Archeops to thin. Looks like that is the choice.
Yep, thinning that out of the deck here. Another card played. Advancing this game, Ultra Ball is going to be an easy choice for that Archeops to go down to, as well as that Lugia V. Lumineon V being drawn off of the Ultra Ball for another Iono. This time, though, both of our players are at 3 cards.
Definitely a much stronger turn to Iono. And as Lugia, if you can Iono Lost Box a handful of times in a row, you're usually feeling pretty solid.
Yeah.
We do have to mention less than 9 minutes remaining in this round, right around 8. So if Caleb finds a way to claw back in and win this game, we could be looking at a tie situation. So Lucas definitely knows the clock is a factor here, wants to make sure that he's winning this game without a doubt and doesn't even have to leave a tie on the table.
Yeah, definitely do not want to be doing that for sure. Snorlax going to join us in the active here thanks to that Jet Energy pushing it up there, and we're going to see that Thumping Snore.
Yep, of course, not going to sleep because of Therapeutic Energy. Caleb promoting now that Comfey. Does find the Raikou. That's the easiest way to try to deal with this Snorlax. Let's see what Flower Selecting sees.
It's going to be the Force Seal Stone as well as a Psychic Energy, opting to keep the energy in the hand.
Wanted to ensure that an attack can happen, I imagine, with Sableye now that Lost Mine is set up. Of course, Lost Mine not able to deal with this Snorlax, but can target this Archeops, clean it up, and then probably just wants to place 60 damage onto one of these Lumineon, try to clean them up. Maybe 50 damage as well would work.
Yep.
Target those so that next turn they can be cleaned up.
Yeah, we were talking about the prize map, including another one prize Pokemon here for Caleb. And seeing that with that Archeops being targeted here for the damage off of this Sableye, of course, allowing you to spread 12 damage counters, 120 damage across Lucas's field. And is going to draw that prize card as well off of that Archeops knockout. Caleb Patton down to 2 prize cards left. Lucas, on the other hand, starting us off with an Ultra Ball.
And let's see what's left in the deck here. Lucas really has just kind of one play he wants to go for. And I don't think I see a
No.
collapsed stadium in the deck. That would be the thing you want to make happen here. Put another basic Pokemon down, and then collapsed away this heavily damaged Lumineon so that there's no Sableye target for the next turn, but I do not see the collapse hanging around.
It's in the prize cards? It's in the prize. Well, okay, so
There's
one
one in the
copy was
prize,
discarded
yeah, right,
already
right,
early
right.
game. One's in the discard, and there's another one in the prize cards for Lucas.
So now really all Lucas can do, there's no option to Iono, is actually not even going to go for research. He's just going to swing with the Snorlax and say, all right, if you've got it, you've got it. Let's see if Caleb Patton can find a way to pull off another Sableye here.
Yeah, let's see if it can happen. Going to start with a flower, selecting all of these choices so important. Battle VIP Pass, of course, an easy choice to put into the Lost Zone here for that escape rope, which is going to be used now. Lucas getting to choose what to promote first into the active. And, of course, Caleb switching into that Comfey to be able to pull off another flower selecting.
He does find that Forest Seal Stone. Is that going to be enough to guarantee it here? He's got Super Rod. He's got Sableye available through the Super Rod. He's got Psychic Energy available through the Super Rod. What one card can he find with the Forest Seal Stone that guarantees it for him? Boss's Orders also can work, bringing up the Lumineon, retreating, and then Cramorant can clean up the KO. That's perfect math as well. 170 damage. We're going to game 3. Just 5 minutes remaining, though.
Wow, huge plays here from Caleb, and gonna take things down, tying things up between both of these players. Chip, we're just all about the ties, I'm telling you. I swear. Caleb Patton bringing things back here. 1-to-1 between these players now, and yeah. That's a lot of pressure for 5 minutes.
Yeah, we didn't really even see it on the main broadcast feed, but Lucas flashing for just a moment there. Collapse Stadium was in the prizes.
Yes.
Recognized that's what he would have liked to have found. Now, Caleb would have probably been pretty close to still just winning the game. Would have probably needed a little bit more dig, would have probably thinned and played a little bit differently to leave the option open to find Boss's Orders Raikou for game. Really close one here in game number 2.
It was incredibly close here for sure, but here we see Caleb getting those last pieces
and
needed.
the Forest Seal Stone was all that was needed to find the literal last piece, that Boss's Orders.
Absolutely. That is awesome here for Caleb Patton, piecing everything together here, getting that Boss's Orders, and taking the knockout on Lumineon V with Cramorant.
Cramorant coming in, doing some work. That 60 damage ends up being super relevant from the Sableye. And Caleb is able to, for free, clean up that last KO.
So I won't say ties just yet, Chip, because anything can happen between these players. Not only do we have to run down the timer, but we also have 3 additional turns here. So really anything can happen, and we've seen some wild starts for really both of these decks before, especially when we get into so close to the top 8 and then even in our top 8 matches. So nothing is being counted out yet between these players, and I'm sure they realize that as well. They need great startups initially for both of them.
We'll see if Lucas can find a basic to get this game going, and I think in this spot, you know, we've talked about which deck is favored in these type of positions. I think it has to be the Turbo Lost Box deck. Lugia definitely needs quite a bit more setup, and Caleb's deck can pop off. I mean, he's not really done too much in the early turns of game 1 or game number 2.
Yeah.
But his deck is absolutely capable of going turn 1 Raikou, turn 1 Dragonite, taking knockouts and potentially clearing Lucas's only Lugia out of play. That's a very real possibility.
Scary. Yeah.
And, you know, when time is expired, it's going to be +3 turns from whoever's turn it is. So it'll be turn 0 for whoever's turn it is, +1, +2, +3. So each player effectively will get 2 turns, during time to try to close things out. So if Caleb can find a way to take 2 prizes before time expires and guarantee that he'll have 2 full turns, there is definitely a chance he could win this set.
We'll have to see how this plays out here. Lucas just starting with that Snorlax flipped up already.
A pair of Archeops prize for Lucas and a Therapeutic Energy. Nothing too bad on Caleb Patton's end. The one of Palpad, but we haven't really seen that come up just yet. Let's get into this game 3, Boo.
Game 3 indeed between Caleb Patton and Lucas Thiele. Lucas going to start us off here with a familiar card, Mesa Goza, but it is going to be a Tails, so no Pokemon being searched out there. Off of that Mesa Goza, we're just going to see that Snorlax starting in the active with a double Turbo Energy.
Don't see an out to Lugia V. There is no out to Lugia V in this hand. Just a pass here from Lucas. All right, if I am Caleb, I'm absolutely going to be flying right now. We're not worried about checking prize cards. We're not worried about being optimal. We are trying to get through the deck. He's found the Mirage Gate. There's a Battle VIP pass in the hand. I already see a Lost Vacuum as well. Come on, Caleb. Let's see if he can make it happen. He's already moving quickly.
Going quick as possible here for Caleb off of this Battle VIP pass. Going for the Pokemon. Oh, Chip, do we see the Ditto coming out here?
I guess we do. Is that going to be the choice? Just
Could just be counting the Pokemon.
It thins an extra card out is what it does effectively.
True, yeah.
You know, if you get that active, use that Ditto, transformative start, move into a Comfey, you get one extra card out of your deck. Really smart, maximum thinning from Caleb.
Ditto having full utility here and on full showcase. This is a brand new card for us from the 151 set here for Caleb. And we are flying into the Lost Zone here. Drapion V, easy choice here to stick in that Lost Zone. And here we go.
Boom.
We're seeing it happen in 4K here, Chip.
I don't think we're streaming at 4K.
It's true. Sorry, Twitch
1080p,
viewers.
Here we go.
We're seeing it happen at 1080p here, folks. That Comfey coming straight out of that Ditto transformative
and Boo,
start.
I just don't think there's going to be enough time here. It's just not going to happen. There's 12 seconds left on the clock at this moment. Caleb is in really just truly such a strong position, but there's just not enough time on the clock for this to happen.
That is quite unfortunate, Chip. You got to crush my dreams right away.
Well, okay. There is one world where this happens.
All right, I like to hear this.
So Lucas didn't really do anything last turn. Obviously, he could have a supporter in hand, but he didn't play any search cards, so you know there's no out to any other basic Pokemon, because if there was, Lugia V would have 1,000% come into play.
Yeah.
So if Lucas didn't have a supporter in hand, which Caleb doesn't know, and Caleb can take a knockout this turn and take a knockout next turn, Caleb would win. Unfortunately, though, Lucas does have, or unfortunately for Caleb, I should say, Lucas does have an Iono, so pretty decent odds to at least find one more basic to ensure that this can become a tie. Let's see how it plays out, though. We'll see what happens.
We will see indeed.
And it looks like we ran out of gas, so there's not even going to be an attack this turn. Not even going to be a knockout, I should say, this turn.
Yeah, not a knockout. Is going to be an attack thanks to that Lost Vacuum. Adding the 4th card into the Lost Zone here. So Kramer going to get that attack. So we're over onto Lucas's side now. That damaged Snorlax in the active here. Gift Energy being attached onto the board.
And this is the thing I like the most about this colorless Lugia deck is this right here. The fact that turn 1, Lucas whiffed Lugia V, but got a Snorlax, got an energy on it, so now he can still do something this turn. He can still attack, he can still take a knockout, and still try to set up his board, get a Lugia V. Obviously, in this exact instance, we're not going to really get to see that come to fruition through a complete game, and it looks like the players are now kind of talking about it, trying to figure out the situation. It's kind of unfortunate because I think Caleb definitely feels like he's in a strong position here, but it looks like it will just end in a tie.
A tie once again, Chip, between these players. Lucas Thiele and Caleb Patton adding another match point to their records, but neither of them coming out with a win here in this match. It was so close, and it was very exciting at a lot of points here, but each of them took a game, and that's going to end up in a tie for these players.
Yep, so neither of these players will make it into our top 8, but still a lot that they were playing for at this point by getting to 34 match points for Caleb and 33 match points for Lucas. Caleb is probably going to be in the top 16, Lucas in the top 32. They're each going to lock up a good amount of prize money, tons of booster packs, tons of championship points as well towards that invitation to the Worlds.
Yeah, that was definitely a fun game to watch here. We see, well, this first flip was just a single heads here from Lucas, but that kind of turned around in the future here. We got a bunch of double heads here for Lucas. Of course, had to discard a therapeutic energy, and one was in the prize cards. So even working with a sleepy Snorlax, it didn't stay sleepy for too long. We got multiple double flips here from Lucas. And that really carried the game and carried the pace of game 1. Weird Deer here, being in the active position for Lucas, and Caleb Patton was just gonna scoop it up, realizing there was no way out of that situation in our game 1. This is game 2 now between these players, and Lucas having to now finally has the therapeutic energy to use on this Snorlax, and had the pace at the beginning of this game, but Caleb Patton was able to finally get a better start, throw that Dragonite V up that we saw take some incredible knockouts, and there just wasn't as good of a response here from Lucas Thiele in this position.
Yep, didn't quite have what was needed to close things out, went down to just one single prize, but that collapsed stadium being in the prizes, the one card he was really hoping to find in this spot. As we're going through this replay, Boo, I was taking kind of a peek at the final standings here as things are getting sorted out. It actually looks like no 35-point players missed, by the way. So it looks like it's going to be a clean cut. If you got to 35 match points, you ended up making it into top 8 of this tournament. It's just kind of, you know, sometimes, sometimes there's some like natural ties, right, that lead to these things happening. Like, for example, our stream game, right?
Yes.
So now because of that, no players are going to miss out who got to 35 match points.
Oh, that is cool to see. Definitely a nice situation, because I think in Pittsburgh we had a ton of players.
It was a lot.
It was a lot of players, and any of them could have been the bubble in to top cut.